Okay, that's not a quiz, by the way. I'm sure a lot of you will recognise that equipment. Probably some of you won't, but there you go. So, good afternoon. And I'm going to read from this. If it looks like I am, it's because I am doing it, because I've only practiced this once. Okay. We've had all the interesting talks today. And this is something completely different, but I don't want people to think I'm being flippant. Okay, I've been on in obstetrics for a long time, and I do know that there are lots of tragedies that happen there, and I've experienced them and shared them with my colleagues. The title is a little bit misleading, and I probably interpreted it different than you have, and I'm not sure what you're expecting to hear. But anyway, here we go. Also, just before I start, can the midwives put their hands up? Just so I can see where you are, so I can make sure I can get out of here in one piece. Okay, right. So not really surrounded, I can get out that way, that's fine. Okay, so, I don't normally do these sorts of things, and you've got no idea how terrified I am. Okay, I think I'd rather get married to a midwife, to be honest with you. Yeah, nobody would have me. Yeah, feel free to join in. Nobody would have me, Carly, you're right. Yes. And I guess those of you who have read my bio know that I fall into that 50-plus grumpy old man bit, and people that know me will know that that's right. Okay? And of course I'm an ODP, which means I'm one of those cynical piss takers that you all work with. Okay? And I am a natural pessimist, which probably explains why this is the first time I've been doing a talk like this, and hopefully the last I'll be invited to. So, when Dr. Vipon, God bless her, told me that I was doing this talk, and actually told me what it was entitled, I was horrified and terrified in equal part. What the hell am I going to talk about to a group of doctors, midwives and ODPs and get out of here in one piece? Was what I was thinking. And to tell the truth, my first, second and third thought, was to do what came naturally for me, which was just to stand up here and tell a few jokes about midwives. And we all know the jokes out there, you know, what's the difference between a midwife and a terrorist, or a midwife and a Rottweiler, and I'm not going to go into that. Or just to stand up here and say how bad things have become in the NHS and how much fun we used to have back in the 80s and the 90s when I started. But thankfully, Dr. Vipon, and I think quite unintentionally, did give me an opening, and it's the title, because it's not really that accurate. And although I have been had the honour of being pleasure of being with just short of 10,000 women as they have had their sections over the years, I've not seen a woman done it. I wouldn't even claim to be anywhere near that. You know, that's crazy. And I was trained by old theatre technicians, and they were a funny bunch. And they sort of gave me some really good advice. They said I should view my career and adopt the Army's 6 Ps, or the more PC version, 5 Ps, which is proper preparation prevents poor performance. And obviously, if anything can go wrong, it almost assuredly will go wrong. And throughout down the years, either through that good advice or sheer dumb luck, more likely, I've managed to avoid all the catastrophes that have befallen some of my colleagues in the obstetric setting. And I have to ask myself, would I have noticed that anaesthetist has stopped him from inducing anaesthesia with Augmentin, that well-known and lovely anaesthetic agent? Or would I have spotted the penile ventilator that was configured incorrectly, and we actually ended up ventilating the patient with the driving gases as opposed to the anaesthetic mixture? Or would I most hopefully have spotted the little bit of plastic that we got wedged in between the filter and the ET tube and nearly resulted in the patient's death? Well, of course I would, because I'm brilliant. It goes without saying, doesn't it? I think I got there. But a second, this is awful, isn't it? I'm not even an ODP by training, I'm an ODA, which means I trained in the early 80s, at a time when things were a lot simpler. Okay? When anaesthetists were always addressed as doctors and surgeons as Mr. And people like me, ODAs, only spoke when they were spoken to. So much simpler times. Anaesthetic machines were like those. A bunch of chrome tubing, a couple of jam jars on them. Okay? And you know, things like monitoring consisted of 5-minute BPs, finger on the pulses, and what they could see. Okay? Red rubber ET tubes. Does anyone remember those? Awful to have to clean them. We did that. And black rubber face masks, that dreaded face mask that used to descend on people, terrified to death. It's a time when CO2 was a gas that was administered, not monitored, which is an odd concept nowadays. And the phrases disposable or single patient use were years and years away. So in short, it was a time when doctors were trusted, which is nice. Nurses actually looked after patients, hospitals smelt disinfectant, managers were rarely seen. Probably taken notice of even less. So for the managers there. Happy, happy days, we say. But it's only when we look back that we can actually see how far we've moved and how far we've progressed, and for a lot of it for the best. Okay? I joined the NHS in 1980, and I started as an ODO. For those of you that don't know, that's a porter, theatre porter. We don't have them anymore. And after a couple of months, I was deemed competent to work on my own, which was common back then. And in an era when there weren't any protocols, ODPs, what we did changed day to day, anaesthetist to anaesthetist. And some of the things we used to do, looking back, were dangerous. Really dangerous, sheer madness and totally irresponsible. You know, drawing up all the syringes, all the drugs in plain unmarked syringes for a whole list of patients before the anaesthetist got there. You just wouldn't think about it nowadays. Bonkers, isn't it? And we used to dismantle and clean vaporizers and never do checks on them to make sure they work properly. And you just use them the next day. Crazy. And we used to hold airways of children and adults whilst the anaesthetist opened up outside for a cup of coffee. Just wouldn't happen, would it? And looking back, it even scares me what we used to get up to. I used to get quite good. I was quite good at tinkering with the old volatile agent, such as we had, and getting a bit more atracure, well, not atracure, actually, a Lofrin back then. Which nobody here will know about. Or galamine for Dr. Older there. And where I worked, ODP cover was really quite, for obstetrics anyway, it was a little bit of a hit and miss affair. In the daytime, we used to do cesarean sections by basically crashing the gynae list, just slotting them in as and when required, and that ODP used to do it. But in the evenings, after about 5 o'clock, there's just one ODP in the trust. So, if you had to do a section, the anaesthetist that was working with that or looking after that very seriously ill patient had to work on his own, and the anaesthetist, the ODP would zoom on down the other end of the hospital and do the section. But if the ODP couldn't leave, it meant that the poor anaesthetist had to do the section with the midwife. Not ideal, really. And that's only until the other ODP got in. Okay, so there's one on call from home. But for me, that was a 12-mile journey through country lanes. There was no restriction on how far away you could live, and some people lived 20, 30 miles away. So madness, really. And that's all changed nowadays. So throughout the 80s, my obstetric experience really revolved around adrenaline-filled runs to delivery ward in the daytime, or mad, bad motorbike rides through country lanes in the middle of the night. But obstetric anaesthetic was easy back then, wasn't it? I mean, all emergency sections were GAs, so that was quite simple. And the GAs themselves were quite simple as well. And awareness wasn't a real big issue back then, like it says in Nat 5, because we used to tell the women to be aware. I can clearly remember telling women, you'll hear your baby cry, and then we'll put you to sleep. What's the problem? So it's interesting how things go around in circles, isn't it? So we're getting back to that. I'm not sure that it really works nowadays, but I think you can tell someone they're going to be aware. But anyway, that's what we used to do. And anaesthetics had moved on, or as it does, it always moves on. By the end of the 80s, about 88, we had things like IV cannula, because we didn't have them before then. And I worked with anaesthetists that didn't even put a needle in their hand. They just used to inject the drugs and then run to theatre. And if anything happened, we managed. We didn't lose many, but that's the way it was. That's so bonkers. And we had basic automatic BP monitors, and we were using the new drug on the block was enflurane, which is great. Okay? But really, my obstetric career didn't start proper until 1988. And I'd like to say it was some kind of higher calling that led me to take the role of an obstetric ODP, but it wasn't. It was cash. It was money motivated. Money motivated. We were expecting our first child, and it was a big hike in pay. And because the pay of ODPs was so poor back then, I didn't really worry about what the on-call commitment was and what the rota was. You know, when they offered me the job, I just snatched it and said, yeah, cheers, thanks, nice. And it really should have been a bit of a giveaway interview, because it's a bit odd I was the only candidate to start with. The other 4 didn't turn up. And they kept asking me what I was going to do with my spare time. What's going on? They didn't want to know if I knew anything about obstetrics. What are you going to do with your spare time? So I thought it's going to be quiet. I was wrong, wasn't I? It was only later when I was speaking to the ODP that I was going to work opposite, I realised what the shift pattern was. But even then it didn't sound too bad. Okay, a 1 in 2. I'll put it on for you. A 1 in 2 with a bit of on-call. That's what it was sold to me as. But the red's the on-call and the grey's the shifts that I had to work. So you started on Saturday morning and you finished Saturday morning. And you worked all that time. And the following week, you did 3 full days upstairs. I must have been mad, really, to take it on. And on top of that, you had to be in at 8 o'clock in the morning, no matter how busy you were the night before. Because on top of covering delivery ward, we also covered ECT lists, cardioversions, ICU when that guy was off, A&E, resus, and A&E minor ops. So it was quite busy. And we could only take annual leave when you weren't on call. So you only had a week off at a time. And that was just, but that was actually, that's not true, because that was for the first 9 years. And then another guy came to join me and he wanted 2 weeks off. So it ended up doing 21 days and 21 nights, non-stop. I didn't even know what planet I was on. Bonkers. So, and I'd never really met midwives until I came to York. And I have to say, they lived up to expectations. They were old a bunch. A real mixture of old and new. And I'm sure it's not just that unit, I'm sure it's every unit. Thankfully, there were only a few of the really scary ones. The bitter and twisted individuals that used to take pleasure in making patients and midwives cry, and me as well. Most of the other midwives were very pleasant, very approachable, and although they had no idea what I was doing there, sort of accepted me into the fold of obstetric practice. That was quite nice of them. But then there was the delivery ward manager. And she wasn't scary. She was a 5-foot tap dancing enigma who is the only person I've ever heard of that can use the word doctor as an insult. It's amazing. But right up until the day she retired, she used to look me straight in the eye and say, "What are you doing on delivery ward? They've only been working there 10 years. That's bonkers." But that's what they were like. So in 1988, the section rate was up to about 10%. So that's 5 or 6 sections a week, yeah? With about a 50-50 split between GAs and epidurals. But with just about all emergency sections being done under GA. That was the standard model. Certainly it was at York when I got there. And during my first full year at York, which was 89-90, I actually ended up doing 194 nights on call. Imagine that. And that generated 1,200 hours of overtime on top of my 40 hours a week. So I worked it out. That's 6 hours extra every single night. Yeah. And it sounds amazing. People just don't believe it. I've got all my payslips at home so I can prove it if you don't believe it. But it was phenomenal. And you know, one of my colleagues now, the ODPs that I've trained, and I come into work and they go, "It's been a busy night on delivery boy. I'm really tired." I try not to laugh, and I try not to shake my head. You know, it's not their fault. You know, it was my choice to do this work. Anyway, that's what the midwives used to say. You chose to do it, what are you moaning about? Okay? But as you can imagine, some days I didn't even know what month it was. Okay? It was just an endless procession of bleeps. And we weren't just called in for theatre cases either back then. The midwives or the obstetricians used to feel the need to call us in from home to sit there and wait for them to deliver vaginal breaches and multiple births as well. So we could sit there for 6 or 7 hours waiting for multiple births to deliver. So it made for long, long nights. And that's what it does to you. You're hit by an ugly stick. That's not strictly true. That is me. And anyone that thinks that I'm the same now, I'll talk to you later. But that was a sort of an anaphylactic reaction that I had. I blame my wife 100% for that. It was her recipe at the end of the day. That was after about 6 or 7 hours of sitting in casualty treatment. And this thing they say about anaphylaxis, that impending sense of doom, it's true. Guarantee it. It was all fun and games for the first 2 hours in casualty. And then all of a sudden, I really did feel like I was going to die. Obviously I didn't, because I'm here. I didn't look like that, obviously, after my shifts, but that is how I felt. Okay, that's the sort of feeling I had after all these incredibly long shifts. And I worked out, I was telling my colleague, I worked out what I would earn if I did those shifts today. I'd be on more than you lot. £120,000 plus, minimum. And by 1999, the section rate had gone up to 23%. It jumped that high, it doubled almost. I don't know. But there were some huge changes in those decades, in the 80s and the 90s. And okay, we're going to put a slide up now. This is where your CPD points come in. So we have to have some, don't we? So there you can see 89 and 95 represented there. So the GA section rates in 89, we did 198 GA sections that year, which was well over 50%. Huge, isn't it? Massive. And 5 years later, that had dropped to 48. Amazing, they became really quite rare beasts. And it's ironic that around that same period of time, we actually got some decent anesthetic monitoring in York. So we started monitoring things like CO2 and volatile agents, just when we didn't really need it that much. And obviously the drop in GA rates was all due to pencil point needles coming around in the early 90s. Okay, and it sort of almost revolutionised obstetric practice overnight. Topping up of epidurals, you can see there that the epidural figure stayed the same, but it should have actually, the epidural should have gone up. And that's because a lot of anaesthetists I worked with just felt it was easier to stick a quick spinal in to try and top up that epidural. It's quite odd, and that's something that I've seen change again now, and we're doing a lot of sections now under epidural top up. And I've even noticed we're doing some grade 1 sections under epidural top up, which is really good. Just goes to show whether they're grade 1s or not, I suppose. And as you can see from the chart, in 89 we did 76 spinals, and then 5 years later it was right up to 396. So really quite a revolution in spinal anaesthesia in obstetrics. But it also meant that the chit-chat that we had in theatre had to change, because more and more patients were staying awake now. And although we've been quite good at talking women through suboptimal epidurals, we now had to learn how to talk women through high spinals as well, in a near hysterical state. That's quite a challenge, really. It's quite hard to tell someone that they can breathe when they can't feel it. But we got there. And I mean, in the anaesthetists, we used to have a little game. And it's something that's got less and less over the years. We used to see if we could spot the dads who would pass out before the baby was in the case. And we got quite good at it. You could always spot them. The power canyon ones in the anaesthetic room. They never made it to theatre. We drag them out by their ankles. And over those years, gradually, the midwives that I worked with, I think they started to appreciate that I had just a little bit more to offer than my awful taste in music that I insisted on playing in theatre. Although they never would bring their own in. No, Kylie's going, no, it's not about anybody, has it? And the music of delivery ward, I noticed, changed as well. The howls and screams from the rooms, both midwife and patient. Something that I found really reassuring, because they told me that things were well in the world and that the woman was progressing, and I could really work out where they were in their labour. That's all stopped. And nowadays, all you get is this brooding, ominous silence that I really don't find comfortable at all. But it's probably good for the patients, not good for me. And over the years, I have had the chance to work with some truly wonderful people. Talented and funny. And of course, the midwives. Well, okay. I am taking the mick, aren't I? Because I have worked with some bloody funny midwives as well. Sorry, Karen. She's looking daggers at me. But it has become clear to me from working with the ODPs and the midwives and anaesthetists on delivery ward that delivery ward is either something, it's a bit like Marmite, it's either something you love or you hate, isn't it? But for us, anaesthetists and ODPs, you can't always avoid it, that's the problem. So, I tell people that don't like it what I was told by a practitioner who didn't like it themselves. Treat it like an SAS mission, get in and out fast and try not to be seen. But I would also add, cut the midwives a bit of slack. They're not that bad, and they are much, much better when you get to know them. But as they say, all good things have to come to an end. And that's not the end of this talk, that's the end of my 16 years of 1 in 2 on delivery ward. It didn't stop out of any concern for my health or sanity, it has to be said. It only stopped because we couldn't find another idiot to do the shifts. And after some really unforgivable things over the years that rota caused, like me missing the birth of my first son, because I was working in York, my wife was giving birth in Bath, and I was on call, so nobody would let me out. And he was actually 6 weeks old before I got to see him. And it's something that my wife brings out and hits me on the head every time I'm just about to win a bloody argument. I never forget. Women never ever forget. Okay. And as I said in my bio, all those arguments, missed anniversaries, missed birthdays, missed Christmases, and all those rows that we had about this bloody rota and my commitment to this hospital and this place, I wasn't sad to see the end of it. And it was only when I looked back at it that I realised that it wasn't so much a rota as a way of life. And whilst I might have worked the rota, my family had to live that. That was awful. Every other week, everything came to a halt because I was on call. So, the last 27 years as an obstetric ODP have somehow flown by. And some of the changes I've seen are obvious to all, and we've discussed some of them. You've seen some of them, haven't you? Mums are getting older. They're having more complicated medical histories. And of course they are getting bigger, some of them. Sections are taking longer, and there's a whole gamut of reasons for that. So they've gone from, I can remember the 12-minute skin-to-skin at Leeds, and the 20-minute standard at York is now an hour plus at York. I don't know what it is at Leeds. I'm sure it's similar. And we're doing less forceps in the rooms. We seem to be taking loads of people to theatre for trials. Does it matter? Need someone clever than me to work it out. Okay. And there have been some big changes for the ODPs as well over that period. At York, the ODPs now assist with all the epidurals. And I like to think, I started doing it about a year or so before it was general practice because I thought it was a good idea. And I think it's made a huge difference to the anaesthetists. I'd like to think it's made a huge difference to the patients and the midwives as well. And being on call for delivery doesn't happen. At York, we're very lucky. We have a resident ODP on delivery ward 24/7. And unfortunately, I think that's something that you lot might be doing shortly, if the government has its way. Expectations have changed, haven't they? Pregnant women, their expectations have changed dramatically over the years. It's not enough now, or it doesn't seem to be enough to have a healthy baby. It's the birth experience that has to be right too. And rightly so. It is probably the most important part of a woman's life. One of those experiences, and we've heard those experiences stay with these women forever. And I work with midwives and ODPs that still harp on about their midwife 50 years ago. So it is really important that they have a good experience, not birth experience. But I do have to take my hat off to the midwives, and I do feel a bit sorry for them because they're the ones that have to manage that expectation. And that's not always easy. And the public expectation has changed, hasn't it? We're all practitioners and we're all under constant scrutiny by the public, with any little infringement being headline news. And okay, the failings of mid-staffs and of Morecambe Bay were bloody awful. Well, I'd like to think they were rare, but maybe I'm just being a bit naive. But I hope I'm not. It's just a shame that nobody ever reports all the bloody good work that's done. But I guess it doesn't make good news, does it? At a more personal level, things have changed for me too, because from being one of just 2 ODPs covered delivery ward, I'm now one of 50. 50, yeah? But I'm still the senior for obstetrics, even if that is more in spirit than in body. And after all my years on delivery ward, I feel that one thing I'm most proud of is the relationships and the bridges that I've forged with the midwives. I have a real sense of family and of belonging there. It's really nice to be welcomed in that family of midwives. And I feel that that's really paved the way for all my colleagues to come in and be able to work with those midwives. And I feel that for their part, the midwives at York are welcome. Even if, for some of them, it's a welcome that you give that slightly odd uncle that you don't ring and don't invite round for Christmas. That kind of relationship. But it is getting better, and there have been battles fought, won and lost, and there's still more to come, I'm sure. You know? But over the years, and over those years that I've been down there, I think for all the gains we made, we have lost a few things that I really cherished about the 80s. Breaking down barriers and empowering people through the MDT. It's great, isn't it? It's lovely. Calling doctors by their first names, is it me or is that just so wrong? I just think it's embarrassing for me because look, I've got grey hair and I'm not a git, aren't I? Really. And a lot of the women, I'm working with young doctors, they think I'm the doctor. So give me a break and tell them you're the doctor. It's important. You're actually the one that's looking after them. When the fear of being accused of bullying stops you from telling somebody off, hasn't it gone too far? You know? A good bollocking was a learning experience for I trained. It's a really valuable thing. And I haven't got the other page yet. Let's go. Where's the page one? So, got to stop. One more. Hang on. Where's it gone? Can't find it. Yeah. Okay, so I've got to stop. Okay. But I have to say, I do the last slide. Audit, I think we'll all agree, is a really useful tool and something that, although now is great, I think previously it might have been just a little bit more honest and more useful. Okay? That was a very early audit call that I found. I think it's great. It says a lot, doesn't it? Yes. Where's it gone? I'll just find the last page because I can't remember what I was saying. Find it. I knew that. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. But when I look back over the last 35 years, I think ODPs have come an incredibly long way. Okay? From a little known, poorly trained, isolated group of ancillary staff in theatres, we've now moved to an established profession, degree trained, working across all areas of critical care. And that's not a bad spread, that's not a bad development in 35 years, really. We're even learning how to work and play nice with the midwives. So, a whistle-stop tour of 35 years of ODP practice, 27 in obstetrics and 16 of a 1 in 2, or, more likely, the disjointed ramblings of an old git. I'll let you decide.